Good morning, everyone. My name's Hank Suttala,
And I'm Dr. K.
and we're here with another episode of Holistic Health and Healing on the Emergence of Being Network. Today, the topic is being weightless. And this was Dr. K's inspiration, but there's definitely something in the air because, no joke, I think a week ago on Wednesday, like Ash Wednesday, and I didn't realize it was Ash Wednesday when I did this, I started a cleanse, and like 5 people I know all started cleanses as well. So there seemed to be this energy in the air of taking care of the body, detoxing, losing weight. And then the topic Dr. K comes up with, being weightless. So the energy's in the air. So we're just following the energy, offering this for all those who are looking to do the same.
Yeah, I went, came down to the brain. So it might be there's a lot to cover in this area because what I'll like to do is cover a little bit of the physical and a little bit of the energetic because that's just my mojo. Both parts have to happen. Yeah, it's springtime, and this is usually when people are like, oh, March is approaching, time to get some weight off, time to get the bikini body. I'm going through a bodybuilding process, losing weight here too. So it's kind of like maybe this would be a good topic to discuss. So I guess
something everybody struggles with, or not struggles with. It's something that everybody is mindful of at one point or another, no matter what kind of body you have or whatnot. Everybody at one point is thinking about it and wanting to figure out the magic formula, if there is one, on keeping you at the ideal weight.
Yeah, and isn't there a whole lot of advertising of take this pill, do this, eat this, keto diet, paleo diet? I can tell you that all the diets I've looked at, there is not one specific one that I would recommend. Really, I mean, here's the thing. We're all individual people, and what may work for one person may not work for another person. So yes, a lot of people are doing the keto and it's great. And a lot of people have had a lot of success. I think it's good, but it's sustainability across the long haul. Then you lose some weight and before you know it, you gain it all back. And so that's what we'll kind of talk about today because we all like quick fixes in life, don't we? Snap our fingers, take a pill, and it's all gone. Same with emotions, all that stuff. But we are on a journey, and to keep this sustained, it has to be a slow and steady wins the race. So that's what we'll kind of touch on a lot of these topics. We'll talk about the energetic piece. We'll talk about some of the physical pieces. It can be a very long conversation because there's so many parts and pieces. I don't think there is one specific formula that will win across the board. If that was the case, then somebody would be making a lot of money.
And the other thing to that is it's not one formula forever. I mean, some people know I'm vegan, and I went vegan because I was listening to my body. And I say it that, if tomorrow my body desired a steak, I would listen to my body and, honor what was changing for me. So that is just for me, it was like a big awareness that the body and the being are two separate things, and really getting into communication and communion with the body is a key part because, like Dr. K said, there's no one set equation. And what if what your body needs today is different from tomorrow? It's good to make a commitment and have good orderly direction and things, but it's also good to develop that ear and listen to the body so that if things do change and the needs of the body change, that you're ready to substitute another formula. And the key is, though, that you're always being mindful, you're always being aware, and you're always making actions versus reactions with regard to diet, eating, and whatever sort of equation or regimen that you pick.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too, because the body, as we get older, changes. Our hormones change. There's so many parts and pieces. The body is just a miraculous vehicle. The biochemistry is just, it's unbelievable. To this day, we don't have it all figured out. So that's why there is just kind of no one set formula. You got to figure out what works, and sometimes that stops working, and then you got to look into something else. But I think starting on the energetic piece, above and beyond anything, we'll talk about that because to have an incredible life, you must be the person who lives the incredible life. What do I mean by that? It's not like I will have the incredible life when my weight comes off. I'm going to be happy when the weight comes off. That's how a lot of people approach it. I'm going to feel so much better when I lose this weight. It's the reverse, really. You have to start appreciating from where you're at this current moment, and start living and being as if you're already in that moment and enjoying your life as you are. That's not to say, don't misconstrue that as, well, I'm massively overweight and I'm going to love that. Kind of, but it's all about self-care. It really starts to, when you start to internally do the work and you start to love yourself and not come from these different angles of why you're losing the weight, why you want to lose the weight. Yes, there's the health piece, but often in society, this is why it's such a big market, because we have such pressure on being ideal people. Women have to look a certain way, and men have to, well, you guys don't have as much pressure, I think, as women do. We have to just look perfect. And I think that's more like, can you comment on that, Hank? In Europe, is it different? I just haven't spent enough time in Europe to really know. Do they put that much, I know your wife is from there, do they put that much weight on it to like, wait?
It's an entirely different culture, and there isn't as much, I don't think there's as much impact on it, but then also their diets are so different that I think naturally they don't necessarily struggle as much with obesity and being overweight as we do in this country. We have such a high sugar diet, and all kinds of other things. And there's things that you can buy here in the store that there in Germany, they're not allowed because of different chemicals or some, things that are additives in the food and things that just aren't allowed. So you have to wonder really how much of the problem is the actual food, and just choosing to eat organic, how much would that already start to shift things for people. But that's a big jump, like for a lot of folks, because I think food is addicting. Like some of the stuff they put in the food, like you get addicted to it. Like when I did eat meat, McDonald's, those steak bagel sandwiches, the breakfast sandwiches, like I wouldn't have McDonald's for like a year, and I would have like one day, and then like I was eating it every day for like a month. And it's like, what do they put in this that all of a sudden like I'm just craving this sandwich? So I think there's a lot going on there. So it's really important to be mindful about what you're buying, quality in, quality out.
Yeah, I just did a whole little video on my Facebook page, if you want to go there, on sodas and all the contents of what is in a soda. And they'll tell you it's Coke free or Pepsi Zero or Crystal, whatever. I don't even drink any of those things anymore, but I never have actually. As a kid, I was never allowed, so I never got hooked. But they'll tell you it's sugar free, but they're using sucralose or aspartame, and aspartame is like one of the worst things. And it is these things are as addicting as cocaine, and people have no idea. So I listed about 15 things that are in various sodas, pops, that keep you coming back for more, and it becomes a vicious cycle. So if we have time, we'll talk about that at the end. But the food here, this is more of a problem, I think, in America than perhaps Europe. We put a lot of stress on the ideal image and what you need to look like. And you look at yourself in the mirror and, Sarah over there looks better than me. And it's all this stuff. I'm not saying not to be healthy and exercise, because that is very important. But I think the pressure here in America is higher than Hank said, like in Europe. So when you change the way you're being, you start to approach life from a place of self-love and self-care. And I think that is really the key to a lot of this. When you start to do the internal work of cleaning and clearing, then you start to the weight will come off easier, because you're coming in from a different angle. You're not looking at it as, I'm not perfect, I don't look good, I have to, my husband doesn't like me, my wife doesn't like me, I'm being, scrutinized, the kids are making fun of me, all these different things that start happening. So you really start to look at those internal factors. So the whole calories in, calories out, which is the usual conventional advice, really, it doesn't work long term, and it doesn't work well, and it actually sabotages weight loss, believe it or not, because it's a beat up thing. It's I put in this many calories, I should be losing this, and you see the vicious cycle. It starts in the brain. So as Hank and I talk, it's an energy thing. So when you start putting that much energy on, this isn't right, I put in this many calories, do you see the stress that you start to create in your head around this weight loss process? So that doesn't mean I say go out and eat as many donuts and things as you want. That's not what I'm saying. You have to be conscious and feed your body good, healthy things. But we create a lot of stress around that. And when you create that kind of stress, you actually self-sabotage, and it becomes a worse process.
Right. And from last week, you were talking about when you were focusing on what you don't have versus what you have. I think we were talking about that.
Yeah.
And so if you're focusing on what your body is now and comparing yourself to what you'd like it to be, but you're focused on where you are now, then that's also locking you in. You're telling the universe, hey, I'm focusing on this. So the universe is like, well, you guess you want to be that way, instead of focusing on where would I like to go? What would I like to become? How would I like to look? And focusing on the goal versus the problem. And then that way you start the direction of choosing things that are going to lead to that.
That's exactly where I was headed with it. It's
Oh,
if you're
it's like I'm psychic or something. I don't
we're
know.
just that way, you know? So also when you're stressed, you're going to process food differently. We talked a little bit about this, I think, a long time ago, but allergies start to develop and things like this the way we process food changes when we are eating on the go, running, sitting in a stressful situation, having a stressful conversation while we're eating, maybe watching the news and getting all uptight and having high blood pressure with this kind of thing. You want to really be very relaxed as much as you can, sit and take the time to eat. We are in a society where we eat on the go. And when I was in Europe, I can tell you, I don't see too many people eating on the go. They sit down, they make it a process, and they take their time. We in America are just hamburger in mouth and driving.
Yeah, especially in Eastern Germany where the wall was. Like every meal is an experience. They would like tablecloth, nice dishes, and like then her dad would come here and like see like paper plates or something. He goes, "All table culture," and like he was just like enjoy the experience because they had so little during the wall that they really like everything was about the experience itself, and you were fully present with what you did have, and they were very grateful for what they had. And that's one reason it's amazing, like the level of gratitude my wife has for simple things like bananas. You would have to spend hours waiting in line for maybe a couple bananas. So totally different mindset about appreciating the things that bring you joy, you can express joy through.
Yeah, it's so much. It's such an American thing, really. So living from an overweight consciousness. So this is a key point. In this case, you've bought into the idea that your body needs to be manipulated and changed externally so you can have some sort of internal desire. We start to look into it becomes an obsession with pounds. We have an obsession with pounds around here, and I've heard it time and time again. And friends, I lost 3 pounds today. I'm like, okay, I was probably water weight because you didn't have chips yesterday or something. A lot of it is water weight. A lot of it is constipation and those sorts of things that happen. So it's a lot of these different factors. But we bought into this idea that we need to get obsessed with the amount of pounds we've lost, and then the next day we've gained, and then we're like, well, what the heck? And so there's usually some sort of fear around this. Simply just letting go and allowing yourself to know that it's all possible releases that stress, because we create so much stress around this weight loss process, and it creates a lot of worry, doesn't it? Like, oh man, last week I was down 5 pounds. Now I'm up 10 pounds. The body will vacillate between different states. So it's somebody like, they'll post that they lost 3 pounds and they're all excited. And that's great, but it's not a long-term thing. Or they've lost 10 pounds and then they go back to what they were doing. So we don't maintain consistency. And so we are constantly on this process of living from this overweight consciousness. So we really want to operate from an ideal weight consciousness. And so what is that ideal weight? Well, as we talked about, it is really all about the society that you're in. In Europe, it's going to be completely different than it is here. So you have to find your own kind of peace with it in your mind. That's not to say if you don't have a lot of health conditions and you're like, well, I'm good at 300 pounds. No, that's probably not it. So there's just a lot of different factors here. But a lot of people don't even know, do you have like absolute trust in your body that it will release these things? A lot of people don't even think about this conscious process of trusting to know that it's all possible, and it's really all about, the self-love and self-care. That's really what it comes down to. So, and then the other factor is the subconscious programming factor. Where in your life, there is a genetic portion, but that's not to say you can't change that genetic portion. Maybe your whole family was overweight, and then you as a child come in and you're overweight. But typically we're not born overweight. It starts to accumulate, and we start to live in our family, and we're fed those things and the foods, and we get accustomed to that. You really have to change that mindset to say, I wonder how much of this is almost like a bit karmic if it becomes, yeah, they call it hereditary, but I wonder if it's not more ancestral. If you want to comment on that, Hank, I
No,
love your
well,
take.
could possibly be, and like I'm kind of anomaly because my family was more on the overweight side, and then I was like thin as a rail as a kid. It was like just weird compared to my siblings and everything. I was quite different, but in general, I think that is because you're having the same eating habits potentially being established and all that type of thing. So it's easy to fall into the same wagon wheel rut, we would say in NLP. You're just falling into line with what the family dynamic is.
Right. And then that continues. And so you start being overweight as a kid. And then you get used to that. And then you get made fun of by maybe other family members or by in grade school. And then this becomes a subconscious programming, or you've been hurt and so emotionally. And so we carry a lot of weight, I do believe, is carried by the things that have happened. It's like we carry these things on our shoulders. Sometimes it becomes a here's our star.
Yep.
Just got to be here.
The
Um, we carry these things as an armor. It's a protective measure too, because and it's a self-soothing measure. So it's
Right.
all these different things.
And how many times as children might a parent offer like a sweet or a cookie or something like that when somebody's upset? Oh, here you go. And right there, it's starting this process of saying, hey, when you're upset, have something sweet, have something sugary. It'll make you feel better. And like that's a learned thing that happens in childhood. And another thing that came to me, well, one, just saying good morning to the people that in the comments,
Oh
we've been
yeah.
ignoring them. But good morning. We have Ernie checking in. We have
Hi,
Mary
Erin.
Lee, Anne
Hi,
Marie,
Mary. Hi,
and
Emery.
Barbara was just saying act as if. I think she was contributing to the conversation,
Yeah.
but it's out of context now. And then Anne Samarin was just saying addiction is the right word. I have known that, but it doesn't stop me. I'm getting better thanks to both of you. You're very welcome. I forget if I got this from the guy who wrote the book on the Master Cleanse, which is what I'm doing right now, or if it was Dr. Tannenbaum, who's like a holistic doctor who has like a home remedies app. But there was like this theory that one of the reasons that weight loss is so difficult that we have so many toxins and additives that aren't good for us in the food, and the body doesn't have a way to process it out. So it will protect itself by storing them in fat cells. So when you do like a crash diet or different things, you lose the weight, but the toxins are there. So when you start to go back to even a better healthy diet, as soon as it has the fat, it will restore the toxins. So like
Yep.
their theory was that weight loss by itself doesn't work, that you must do something to detox the body to get these things that the body considers harmful out so it doesn't have to re-protect itself. And I don't know if there's really any science basis for that, but I was wondering if you've heard of that theory or had anything to
Yeah,
add to
that's
that.
exactly where I was going to go with the
Oh,
rest.
look at that. I wasn't trying to jump the
He's
gun.
stealing the show today, guys. Stealing the
No,
show.
this was an honest question that I thought of. You
Yeah,
see, we don't have these or anything. I
that
didn't even
is
know what
absolutely
it
true. It is toxins get stored in that I was going to get to that in the physical aspect, but
was.
that's one
Okay.
thing. Detoxing, these toxins do get stored in fat cells, and this is why a lot of people have difficulty losing weight because the adipocytes, which are our fat cells, aren't working properly, and the lymph isn't working, and all these things. It's not just one thing. And this is why, like you said, weight loss isn't a one thing fix. And this is why there's so many books and we go on and on and on about this. And people have trouble and they've tried this and they've tried this pill and then there's this. And it's like, I could name a zillion of them, but it's not a one size fits all. There's a lot of things underneath that we'll talk about that isn't looked at. And toxicity is one of those big, big things that sits in the fat cells and just prevents you from moving forward.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I was trying to jump ahead.
I'm
I
just
wasn't trying
joking.
to.
Just kidding.
But switching back to energetics, then, like in access consciousness, there's like over 60 different body processes. And they'll say that you might have 10 people all with the exact same type of cancer. But the way they arrive there is so different that you wouldn't use the same energy process in all 10. It would be different combinations of energies because everybody's story and map and how they got to where they're going is different. And I would feel that weight is the same way. Everybody has different
Yeah.
factors that are playing into the weight. And some might be more toxins, some might be more emotional, some might be these little core beliefs that were set in childhood, like getting a cookie when you were crying that you self-soothe through food. Or fear of intimacy is another one where if you are
Oh,
afraid of
yeah.
being intimate, one of the most intimate things is eating. It's like ingestion and things. So people will replace outward intimacy with relationships with food, and then that the relationship is with food instead of people. And then that would be another way that you could have an unhealthy thing going on that is creating like weight issues. But really, the problem is relationships and not with food. or well, it is with
Yeah.
food, but you get what I mean with that.
There's so many, it's like a tree, and there's so many branches to the core of the weight issue. Some people just like to hide. They don't want to come out. It's a self-soothing thing. These are the big ones we're talking about that are very common. So it's really often looking at two things. The physical piece, is there a physical aspect to this that you're not losing weight? Is it a genetic thing? Is it a storage of toxins? Is it, your diet? Is it a leptin resistance? And we'll talk about that. Is it a sleep issue? Is it a thyroid issue? And then there's all the emotional pieces. So in regards to the emotional pieces, it's looking at we always talk about the root cause, the wound, the original wound. What may have predilected you, if that's a word, whatever, can't say that word. What has predisposed you maybe to continuing with the weight gain, and what happened in your past, like a subconscious programming factor that has now put you in this position, and unwinding that piece, and then loving you for you, and then visualizing where you want to be, because a lot of people don't know, they just want to lose weight, and it's like, that's great, but do you see yourself in that position? You have to put yourself in that visual, like, I see myself as this, and look at that every single day, and have the target of where you'd like to go. A lot of people are like, well, I just want to lose some pounds, and they don't even know where. So, and I have a sneeze coming up. Excuse me. I'm not. Thank you. So there's so many factors with this. So the weight is usually, unless it's a genetic issue and unless it's a physical issue, which I do think there's a component of both, because I just think there's a component of both. But really, your excess weight is not the problem. It's not the reason. So looking at the reason, really, it's not your body punishing you or your body's doing something to you. It's there to motivate you to get better in some way. And then also looking at the, physical component.
And even if there is a genetic component, we've talked about Bruce Lipton a number of times on previous episodes. He wrote the book Biology of Belief. I'll get a link and post it in the comments for it.
Yeah, it's a great book.
But even genetics, they would do things to have a genetic test, and things were there, did work with the person. I don't know what kind of belief system work that they did, but they did some sort of process and then did the test again, and the genetic markers were gone. Mm-hmm. So even if you have the idea that you're this way because of your family or genetics, whether it's weight loss or cardiovascular health, heart disease, or anything else, that is just a belief that can be changed, and the genetics would follow. So Bruce Lipton has a great book on that. I'll get the link real quick for it.
Yeah, genetics can be changed, by the way, guys. My device does work on chromosome therapy. It takes a while. I'm not going to lie on that one. It can take a handful of months. But we can actually get in there and send some frequencies to help the body change the genetic factors. So it can be done. And I do have quite a few programs on my biofeedback device for weight loss. They do take a little bit, and it's not a miracle worker. It's not like I just run these programs and you're going to lose weight. You do have to do your part, but they do help everything move through. And I do have specific homeopathics that I use from Dr. Recommends that are weight loss therapies. There's certain ingredients in there that help jog the body into losing weight. So it's a combination process. It's not just one item. You don't just sit down and I run the program and you lose weight. Although it accelerates the process. We'll put it that way. I have a lot of tools to accelerate the process. But we do have to kind of look at where and why might there be an emotional piece. And stress is a huge factor. So we know when we have a lot of stress, there's cortisol, and any kind of stress. It's just emotional anguish from family or from work or anywhere else. It's going to affect your cortisol levels. And as we know, cortisol is the stress hormone. So if you're producing too much cortisol, it's going to get stored in your midsection a lot of times. And so we really want to keep an eye on the stress. If we do not curtail the stress, you're going to have I'm just going to be flat out and tell you, it's going to be very difficult to lose the weight, because I've had those clients that it's like, we've done a lot of things and they've lost some weight and they're exercising, but their job is through the roof and they are like, I am burnt out to all get out. your adrenals are not firing properly, your cortisol production is probably not ideal, and you're going to have a tough time. So stress is a big factor in the way you process food, in the way your adrenals function, and the way you hold on to your weight. So then we'll get into some of the physical pieces. Hank has some contributions.
I was just going to say that we could probably team up on that too, because I have some forks, tuning forks that are for fat and muscle for weight loss and for toning the body, as well as DNA forks. So I wonder if the combination of your machine, along with the little tuning forks and Shanamana, might like add a different potency to that too.
Well, of course. I need those muscle tuning forks right about now. Are they going to work some miracles for me?
Well,
I got about 11 weeks.
Depends on your point of view and your belief.
Right.
I believe it.
I'm joking. So we Hank and I talked about this. My device pulls up the organ systems that need work. And so Hank has the tuning forks that align with that organ system. So my device does send the frequencies, but obviously you're not with me every single day. So if you have something at home that can continue to send a little bit of that frequency to you and that organ system, whether that's the pineal gland, hypothalamus, your stomach meridian, your small intestine, whatever it is, the device will pull up those organ systems that are hotspots on the agenda for your body currently. And so we talked about creating a little program where you can come in, we'll put you on the device, we'll see what your body needs, and then Hank can send you home with some things, and I can send you home with some homeopathic so you can continue the process.
And the nice thing too, what my relationship with the manufacturer, I can just get like the one fork out of the 14 fork set. So when people are needing something like that, if only 3 organs come up, it's not like you have to get the whole set. You can just get what you need. So it works out really nicely. We got to get together and actually create this. Let's do it.
We have to that program's got to get out there. It'll be simple with some goodies.
Yeah. Indeed.
So, yeah.
Okay, so on to energetic part, right? Or we're
physical, unless you have some contributions.
No, I mean, well, I was contributing a little bit off and on. I think the biggest thing is like finding the core of what's causing patterns, and like not putting it outside of yourself, not saying I'm this way because of it. We all got here from choices that we made or chose not to make. And though we might have had conditioning and influence from our parents, ultimately it's us that can choose to be more than that. But it helps to find, hey, what was originally going on, and recognizing it, and then working with whatever tools you want, Reiki, coming to our energy clinic, whatever the case is, to start releasing those core beliefs, because then everything else becomes easier. It like loosens the cement on the brick wall that stops you from moving forward, and you can just burst through the limitations. So that's the key thing: original wound, what it is, and then starting to shift and change it. Yeah,
clearing that out. And because often what happens, I think a lot of folks are unaware. So it's really all about awareness. That's the key to so many things, really. They start on the weight loss process and it's okay, I've gained 50 pounds, I got to lose 50 pounds. But they forget that way back somewhere in their childhood, mom or dad just kept feeding them these things. And, like Hank said, have a cookie, this is going to make you feel better. And so then they're fighting the urges to have the cookie, and they do good for a week and then they cave. And so then it's, we forgot that that's kind of what started the process. So going back and clearing that out, and then going back and visualizing and saying, I trust my body's process, and I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to start doing this, and I'm not going to put an enormous amount of stress around this, that it's not happening, and not getting so obsessed with the poundage. And okay, I lost 3 pounds, now I've gained 5. Not getting so obsessed about that, just trusting the process and knowing that things will start shifting. But inside, you have to start changing and knowing and telling yourself, I am going to lose this, and I feel great. I feel great already. I'm going to start walking and start feeling good inside. When you start feeling good inside, rather than looking at the scale and searching externally, things will start shifting on a much easier basis. So that would be my key to that, really. And then looking at the physical piece, leptin is a big topic, so I'll touch on that. So leptin is a hormone that's made by your fat cells, and fat cells actually in your small intestine, and well, they're called enterocytes. I get into it, but they help regulate energy balance, and by inhibiting your hunger. So it's kind of like they know when your body's full, and you don't need to eat more, and it actually starts to diminish the fat storage in your adipocytes, which are your fat cells. But when there's what they call leptin resistance, your leptin then is high, but your brain doesn't recognize it. So your brain doesn't recognize that you're full, and it doesn't start to pull the fat out of the fat cells, and so it becomes this vicious cycle of you're constantly eating. You don't know when to stop. So that's something that we can measure with blood work, and that is a big factor. So if you've tried like everything, you truly have tried everything, you've checked your thyroid, you're like, I have been eating well for a long time, I've been exercising and nothing is happening. It's either your stress or we got to look at the leptin. Leptin's a big topic right now. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. But if you're truly on the process of have no idea how to lose weight, we've tried this, we have the misconception of I'm not going to eat anything. My friends are like, I had a piece of toast. I've been like this for a week and I've lost weight. Yes, you've also slowed down your metabolism and you're going to gain weight in the end. That is not the way to do it. The way truly to do it is to eat smaller meals more frequently, like literally 4 to 5 meals a day. I am eating an enormous amount of food. I eat 6 meals a day and I've been losing weight. And most people are like, sorry. But I'm on a different course, guys. I have a different.
Wait, we're totally opposite. She's eating all this food, and I'm doing a master cleanse, and I haven't eaten since like last Wednesday. I mean, it's a juice fast, so like
it's
I have
a different purpose.
But yeah, it's a totally thing. But then she's talking about food, and it's amazing. I find myself like watching like food videos, and when we had cable, I would be on the cleansing just watching the cooking channel. Like
every time I get on the elliptical, it's like I look up in the food channel eyes. I'm like, darn it, that's not what I want to look at right now. I'm really hungry. My food content is different though. It's really a portion of carbs, proteins, and fats. So I'm not saying eat 4 to 5 meals a day and it's anything you want. You really have to have a specific diet in place. But I have put people on a specific diet that I wrote out for them. I don't do a lot of that anymore unless somebody's in one of my larger programs, because it is a lot of work for me to curtail that. And people are like, I'm losing weight. I'm like, yeah, because you're accelerating your metabolism and you're telling your brain, hey, you don't have to hang on to that piece of toast all day long, because that's what your brain will do. When you start eating one piece of toast a day, initially you'll start losing weight, but then what your brain starts doing is going, oh crap, we got to hold on to this one piece of toast and stretch it out through the day. We got to slow way down and digest it slowly and metabolize it slowly, and your metabolism slows down. When you give your body multiple food, it doesn't hang on to it. It's kind of like, okay, good, we know we're going to eat again. The brain starts shifting and metabolism gets told what to do. We don't have to hang on to this food. We don't have to stretch it out for hours and hours. We don't have to slow down. We know we're going to get fed again. And then your metabolism can speed up. So that's the way it works. And you really, ideally, to lose the weight, it's 3 months, guys. It really is a commitment of exercise and food for 3 months. If nothing alone, if you're not exercising, food by itself is the key. It really, really is. So it has to be the right proportions of things, and I call it one ingredient items. So I have like chicken and asparagus and a sweet potato, and then it's rice and a little beef. I have to eat beef because that's what my coach tells me to do right now. So it's not my choice.
You choose to eat beef. You don't have to eat beef.
I don't have to. But when you have a coach and you kind of
take back your power, Dr. K.
I'm not doing this long term. It's only for this time period for my show. And I don't enjoy it, believe me.
When I say that, is like when my kids do that all the time. Do I have to? I'm like, no, you get to. You're choosing to.
You're choosing.
Absolutely, you don't have to pay your mortgage. You choose to because you prefer to keep your house, right? But like really take back your power and recognize everything's choice. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm posting a comment to the quantum biofeedback that Dr. K offers, because really to get into all the things that she was talking about with the blood work and everything, that's a great first step, like an intake and evaluation. And there's a video on this link too of me being the guinea pig and being hooked up to the machine. So I'll post that. And the other link I'm going to post is for a YouTube video I did called Activating the Seat of the Soul. Because we talked about emotional, there's a spiritual component, there's a body component, and there's the belief that the thymus is the seat of the soul. The thymus is what helps to keep the body and the being connected. And by activating the thymus and by doing different exercises, it helps you to communicate better with the body, to have a communion with the body. Because like you said, like if the brain thinks, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get food, then it might hold on to things that it shouldn't hold on to. But if you had that communion, maybe the being and the body would know anyway, and that wouldn't be as big of a factor. And to give an analogy to what Dr. K was talking about, it's like a fire, right? When the fire starts to die down and you suddenly put a big log on it, it takes a lot of time for it to catch back up to burn that log.
Mhm.
But if you constantly feed the fire smaller things, that fire keeps stoked and it keeps burning really
Mhm.
hot. And that's like the reason why you want like consistent meals throughout the day. Like I always heard it's like smaller meals,
Yeah,
not like a big meal and that type
right.
of thing.
Right. You, like little meals, small portions. You don't have to, this is not huge meals.
Oops,
So,
I
yeah,
didn't mean to
that's
put that.
absolutely. What did you put up?
No, I just clicked the comment that I made from
Oh,
Periscope. It's like, oh, so by the way, we're on Periscope too. If you prefer to watch on Twitter, it's you can do that if you want. But anyway,
Hank's such a guru, techie guru. But
except I click wrong buttons a lot. Yeah, that's okay.
just don't put anything pornographic up, okay?
No, I don't have any of that. No,
Ah,
no,
there's no excitement.
that's like
So
no,
that's the
no.
key really to it all. It is to really start noticing differences. You really should, if you're working hard at this, a half a pound to a pound a week, if you're doing the exercise and the diet, and to really see a nice shift within 3 months. I tell people, give it chunk it 3 months, do another 3 months. If you're looking to lose 100 pounds, guys, it's going to take 9 months. I'm not 9 months to even a year. So be patient with yourself, get a calendar, mark off day one. I've gotten through 3 months, and you're going to start seeing a difference, and the brain's going to start engaging and going, woohoo. And then it's going to keep you going, and you start developing a habit. The first 2 weeks are kind of the roughest part. That's when people kind of fall off the wagon. The whole, New Year's resolutioners, I'm gonna cut out the sugar, I'm gonna cut out the soda, and then it's like 2, 3 weeks, and then they're back on it because they've lost the weight. It's a long haul. And what starts to happen, what I will share with my process is, of course, before I started training for the show, it's called pre-contest prep. It's usually 16 to 20 weeks. I eat sugar, I have whatever I want, there's no restrictions, but once this happens, everything gets cut out, everything. And you start to get to the point that the first week is usually the roughest. You start to have cravings, you want the food, you have to push through that. And then it goes away. The cravings actually go away within the course of 1 to 3 weeks. Everybody's a little different. And you won't want them anymore. So if you can just kind of muscle through that time period, those cravings will start to diminish and disappear. So that's key. And then we talked about toxins, and we already touched on this, but it's very, very true that when there's a lot of metal toxicity in the body, and people are like, where the heck do I get metals? Oh my gosh, you get it through tap water, you get it through aluminum cans, you get it the second you walk outside in the rain, you get it through things we inhale, any kind of toxins, inhalants. I do a environmental toxin test, I do a mold test, I do a metal test. You'd be shocked. We checked probably about 35 to 40 environmental toxins of inhalants that we get from different places. All these things get stored in our fat cells. We inhale it, we eat it, it gets through our pores. So these things get stored in our fat cells, and they kind of screw up the infrastructure, and that's when the fat cells just kind of don't release the fat the way they are meant to, and so screws things up. So detoxing is one of those things that is my favorite niches. I love to do detoxes.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what I focus on is let's get you a nice clean detox. I think above and beyond everything, that's where a lot of things need to start is emotional and detox, because you can start taking supplements, but if you have a lot of toxicity, then the organ systems won't work well. So
Right. And
detoxing is
sometimes the
key.
supplements you might tell them to take would depend on what kind of toxins they're dealing with. Like when I was on the machine, it was picking up like pesticides, and I worked at a hardware store when I was in high school, and the pesticide aisle always stood out because I would feel sick whenever I had to go through that aisle to help a customer or to clean it or whatever else. And so I even knew then it was having an impact on my health. And here it is, years later, many cleanses later, it's still coming up on the machine. So there's certain things I forget now what you might have said,
We
but
have
there's
to do
certain
that
things.
again.
Yeah. Then while I'm on the cleanse, like, let's see what the machine says. It's like, oh man, no, what I'm
Well,
doing is very extreme, folks. So like, never try it without a medical doctor like telling you, yeah, go ahead or whatever. I have to say that, but I'm going to do a whole stream on the master cleanse for people that were interested, because I find it a very potent cleanse technique, but it is very extreme for sure.
it is. It's not for everybody. And if you have health conditions, I mean, Hank's healthy. We're both healthy folks. But if you have medical conditions, then you definitely want to clear something like that with your doctor. If you're healthy, I'd say probably fine, go for it. But it does, people think they don't poop and they don't pee anymore with these cleanses. You
Nope.
still do. It actually gives the body a break. So I did a whole little video actually on intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting. I think I did that, like 2 weeks ago. If you go through my Facebook page, it should be in there. There's a difference between the prolonged fasting, intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is really you fast for a day. So this is like a long intermittent fasting for
Yeah.
Hank.
Yeah, and I've done this once for 40 days, and there's not a day that goes by that you don't still have bowel movements and things. It's
Yeah,
just like, where the heck is the crap coming from? Literally.
stored.
Like, right. But it gives your intestines a break, and then you're doing a saltwater flush in the morning. It's like it really keeps things going. And even with the saltwater flush, you still have movement. So it's like really amazing how much stuff is still in the system, years and years of buildup and everything. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's another part of weight gain too. If you have a lot of constipation, you are recirculating toxins. There's something I check that's called beta glucuronidase. Beta glucuronidase when
What?
it's high.
Can you
So
say that 10 times fast?
yeah,
No.
beta glucuronidase. I love saying that word. You're recirculating toxins in your system. So your body gets rid of hormones and things it doesn't need, and you poop it out. But when you're constipated, it sits there and it gets recirculated in your system and gets back into your bloodstream. And so we combat that with taking something like L-D-glucarate, which is a supplement that I give. But I have to make sure you're having bowel movement. So here's the thing about that: these cleanses at least give you the break so your body can keep flushing what's in there, and you're not giving it more food so that it can get rid of the stuff that's piled up. It's kind of
Yep.
like cleaning things off the plate.
And we
So
have a
it's
comment from Anne here.
mhm.
So she was saying, "You guys crack me up." But in all seriousness, I have tried everything without a doubt. And one more thing is discouraging. It's harder to get into a diet. Diet is a four-letter word. I need your super tools often. And really, I would say when it comes to like getting into a diet, it's really about changing a lifestyle. It's not a diet. Like diets, like you do it and then you stop and all that. Like if you really can get centered and get in touch with the body, like I've learned this, that the body will tell you what it desires and what it needs and things. Like I get these times where I'll, like, even when I'm cleansing, there might be a day like the last cleanse I did, my body's just like, yo, I need pineapple and pistachios. I'm just like, what? I'm like, okay. And I honored that. Like if you really can get in tune, you can start, it becomes more just like a way of being, and it's not like a diet that you're sticking to. It's like an intuitive type of process, but it's really more of like a life change thing, like what
It
works and
is.
what doesn't work. And if you keep
Yeah.
doing what works, you're going to continue to build on the progress. But a diet is, plus there's all this belief around diets and everything that they don't work, or that that it's better, like, change the wording of it entirely. Like, just what does my body need today, and get you to the tools like the video I posted to get into congruency with the body and the being, coming together and then working together instead of working in separate directions.
Right. I'll comment on this because I hear this a lot. Doc, I've done absolutely everything and nothing works. And this goes not just for dieting, I mean for life. Have you truly done everything? Absolutely everything there is out there?
There's an
Probably not.
infinite combinations of things. We couldn't possibly do everything.
Yeah, so for this particular, and I've used this on myself because I'm like, I'm doing everything and it's not working. Are you? Are you commenting every day? Are you reaching out to people daily? Are you showing up consistently? Probably. Then I'm like, no. So with regards to dieting, are you at the gym every single day? Are you on a very strict diet, eating 4 to 5 meals a day with the right ingredients? Are you doing meditations every single day? Are you eating peacefully every single day? Or have you cut out every single sugar for over 3 months?
Right.
I'll let
And no
Anne answer
matter,
those questions on her own. She doesn't have to
yeah.
comment.
Well, and if you take all those, the one question I would ask is, are you being congruent with your choice across the board? Because congruency is like, is your body on board with this diet? Like, it might not even know what's going on, and it's being imposed on because communication to upstairs and to the body is cut off. And all the body knows is everything's changing and I don't know why. Oh crap, I better conserve. I better do this. I better do that because I don't know what's going on. And that's why opening up the line and being congruent with your choices, body, being, and beyond, is really the key. And a lot of these things might work if the body was on board and knew what was happening, but a lot of times it doesn't because we've lost that connection. And so that for me is like the number one thing. Whatever you're going to choose, do it in congruency with the totality of being.
Yeah, and they show up every single day. So I will just make a side note on what I'm doing. I'm spending 2.5 hours at the gym every single day because
Crazy
that's what my
talk.
coach says to do. Well, but to get to my destination, I know that that's what I have to do. I do 45 to 50 minutes of cardio every single day. I eat my 6 meals a day. And he has this joke of every time you skip a meal, God kills a kitten. And I'm like, oh, really? Don't say that. Okay, I'll eat my food.
That's
So
terrible.
it's you got to show up every. I know that was really bad. I'm like,
No, I've seen
Shelly,
T-shirts
don't
that
say
said the
that.
same thing, but
Don't say
something
that.
even worse. So,
But it's showing up every single day and doing something every single day, not just for a week, not just for 2 weeks, 3 months minimum, minimum, and see if you have a change. So that means every single day, or if you have a program, I'll touch on that. So eating the meals and exercising on an empty stomach. It's something called HIIT, interval training, which is you get on the elliptical or the treadmill or whatever it is, and you go at a pretty high pace to the point that you can't catch your breath for 20 minutes on an empty stomach. You do that 4 times a week. Eat your diet. Let me know in 3 months if you have lost weight. Because one of those, that's usually something that works very, very, very well if you don't have a leptin resistance. So that's a side note, but sometimes, people say, I've done everything. I don't know that you've done everything. What I do is extremely extreme and it works. And it has worked so long as we don't have other thyroid things and that kind of stuff going on because there
and
are
going
underlying factors.
and going back to an energy component, when you're making the choices that you're making, don't forget beingness comes before doing. So like what energy could you be to become the thing that you're looking to become? And you start having that beingness first, because if you do first, it's always kind of self-defeating. It's like what being in the state, and also recognizing that how you are right now is flawsome. That is a term that my
I
friend
like
Brittany came
that.
up with, where she's like, you're flawsome, you're flawless, and you're awesome, you're flawsome. So like
Yes.
if you can really be at peace with how you are now, that opens up the space for you to change. But if you are in resistance and you're saying, I suck and I don't have all the, I wish I was this and I wish I was that and I'm not happy with how I am, that's actually creating like a lock into staying the way you are. So you really, like, what would it take for you to love who you are right now, recognizing that where you're at is 100% from the choices you made or didn't make. And now knowing that and accept and being in allowance of that, what choices could I make to go forward with the targets that I'm setting? And that's like a huge piece. And you guys have been really quiet. Like I see people
Yeah. Where's
watching. I know you're
Mark?
out there, but
Mark, are you here?
he might
Awful
be.
quiet.
But if you have questions, we always look to wrap up the show like right before the hour mark so we can
Of
upload
course,
it
I got time.
Instagram and things like that. But if you have questions, now is the time. Like that's, you guys usually pick up with your questions about halfway in, but this group's been really quiet. Or maybe there's a
Yeah.
lot of resistance. Like I'm listening, but I don't like it. I don't know. Which is fine too. You don't have to like what we're saying, but thank
Yeah.
you for tuning in. And as always, if you find value out of the videos, please share, especially from the YouTube channel, because that is the biggest algorithm. Or the second thing is we are on all the podcasts. I think we're even on iHeartRadio now. So like iHeartRadio,
Awesome.
iTunes, all that. So if you'd like to listen to us, download the apps, download on multiple devices, help us out. Make sure you rate it and share that, because there's we were actually picking up a lot of momentum on just the audio side of things. So I'm going to be changing our intros and outros to be more in line with podcasting. But share away, like wherever your favorite place to digest our content is. Please share, rate, and all that good stuff. It helps us out. Like when you like, comment, all that good stuff. So thank you for your contribution.
That's awesome. Spread the word.
Yeah, spread
So
the word,
we
especially in
covered.
Australia. We have like a lot of followers in Australia. Like who knew? But
They're probably like, what's this weight loss thing? We
yeah,
don't
they're
have
like, we
that
don't have
problem
any of
here.
that. Yeah.
We do create a lot of that stuff. We create these thoughts around it above and beyond anything. We create that around here because, as we talked about in Europe, they don't they don't care. Like I'm Ukrainian, and so I was always tall and thin. That's just how I always was. And my grandma would always be so worried about me. She's not fat enough. Feed her some more.
Oh my God.
Feed her some more. I'm like, oh my God.
You
So
know,
they wanted me to be fat. I was
Yeah,
like,
I had the same thing. I was so
okay.
thin that the doctor said like you got to make him drink like all this milk. And like they gave me whole milk like every single meal. And now like even before I was vegan, I couldn't, like just milk in general. Like I can't do it
Too
because I was
much.
so like almost traumatized by having to drink so much milk because they wanted me to gain weight and I still didn't.
Yeah,
Because
here's
I
a
didn't fit
perfect
into the family.
example.
It wasn't pudgy, I don't know.
It was a budgie, yeah. It's like, so in other cultures, like in my culture, in Ukrainian culture, if you're not pudgy, you're not healthy. So here's the whole, it's all a mindset. It's all a mindset. And if you can just gain awareness and be you and love you so much. And I'm not saying, well, I'm just going to eat whatever and not be healthy. That's not what I'm saying. But be healthy and feed yourself good things, but love yourself first and know that it's all possible. If you want to lose a little weight to feel healthier, then okay, I'm going to do that for myself. But I love myself where I'm at, and I'm going to live the life as if I am at my ideal being. And just look at what that thought process around that is. What is your ideal being, and why do you feel that you need to look like some model somewhere? Because who told you somewhere that you're not good enough, being, that you need to be a size 2. I'm not saying you got to be a size 20, but like look at your mental impression or perception around those things first. So, and sleep is really important. That's another factor that will really curtail. If you're not sleeping, you're screwing up hormones right and left. So the folks that work nights, I'm like, do your best to maybe find another job. I know it's challenging, but it really kind of screws things. It really screws up your hormones, and hormones play a big role in weight loss and weight gain. Thyroid plays a big role. So if somebody's really working hard and nothing's working, check the thyroid, because the thyroid plays a big role. Adrenals and thyroid work together, by the way. When you repair adrenal glands, if those are tanked, your thyroid will start repairing. They send signals to each other.
And I
We
got tuning
talked about
forks for all
food.
that. I think I even have,
Yeah.
there's one set
Yeah.
called the endocrine set that has like the thymus, the adrenals, like all the major things for that, which is a great set. Oh, I heard the kitty again.
Yeah, he's still here. Thymus
The
is
star of the
really
show.
important, the star of the show.
Yeah,
Just got to
thymus,
be
seat
here.
of the soul, very important. I posted the link for it. That is like a huge energy center and it doesn't necessarily atrophy as you get older. It can be activated, and that's
Yeah.
one reason why there's some modalities you're like tapping on the thymus before you start and things like that. Like you're activating that, so it's like really, really important.
And the thymus gland, the doctors these days feel like it's nothing. Don't even worry about it. It's BS. It's not an important organ. It very, very much is. It produces T cells. It's a huge mediator in your immune system. Huge. And I do have a homeopathic that's called the thymus homeopathic. It's specifically made to drain and help the thymus if it's congested. There's energetic things. So when we're little, the thymus gland is a certain size. So it doesn't get smaller. There's a theory that it gets smaller. It really doesn't. We just grow bigger. We grow around it. So the thymus gland is a huge factor in this.
Yeah.
We covered kind of food, so eating smaller meals. Not going to get into really which foods, or you could get on a whole topic of superfoods that help. And we talked about exercising, and the most effective exercise really I have found is the HIIT training. So if somebody wants to look that up, it's HIIT, HIIT training.
Okay.
Doing that 3 to 4 times a week. If that's a little much for you, then you have to curtail it a little bit, but that is very effective in doing it on an empty stomach. Because what happens when you exercise on an empty stomach, your body will start to degrade the reserves. It's going to be like, okay, we need reserves because this person is accelerating and we need to help this person's metabolism along. So it will dive into the storage centers first, versus if you just ate, it's going to use that first. The body will not start going into breaking down fat and all these things if it already has something there, because we don't want to degrade things. So working out, I don't want to say working out so much on an empty stomach. Well, you can. When you do intermittent fasting, they do actually recommend that, or prolonged fasting. Like, don't eat after 4. Don't eat heavy meats after 4, because that's a whole adrenal function thing. But then working out later, your body will start tackling the fat reserves, and that's what you want. That's how you loosen those adipocytes, the fat cells, to start releasing the fat.
Sounds good.
I know we're
And
probably getting close, unless somebody
yeah,
has
we're
more
getting close.
questions.
Well, yeah, definitely. If you have questions, please ask. And we'll probably, I don't know if we'll have a part 2 next week, but maybe we'll do a follow up with the Weightless thing. And then if you're interested in the cleanse that I'm doing, I'm going to be doing a separate stream probably Monday, because my son Max is going to film me while I make all the while I make the juice in the morning. So I'm going to have him film me,
Nice.
and then I can play that while I stream. And I'm going to give information about the master cleanse. And here's just a little graphic. It's like they call it the lemonade diet. So it's maple syrup, lemon, cayenne pepper, spring water, all kinds of fun stuff. So
Yeah, cayenne
that's going to be
pepper's a
good.
burner. It
Yeah. Well,
burns
I
stuff.
think that's one reason I have such a high tolerance for heat, because like that's the only flavor you get, man, on the cleanse is like this cayenne pepper. We did have a question, and then we'll remind people about the energy clinic. She says, is sugar something you'd recommend cutting out?
Processed sugar. Yep, anything processed. So, and fruit in moderation. The good fruits to use that are not in high. So the sweeter something is, Schwarn, am I pronouncing that correctly? The sweeter something is, the higher the glycemic index. So you want to stay to foods that have a lower glycemic index, meaning strawberries, blueberries, melons. So have a little bit of that. So it's not like you eat that all day long, but cut out anything processed that has sucrose or fructose or any of those things in there. So that means like anything out of a can box, jar. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
But
Fresh
yeah,
is best. And when it comes to things like strawberries, which is considered one of the dirty foods because of the outer surface, the texture, it retains a lot of those pesticides even after
pesticides.
you
Yeah.
rinse them. So it's really important for those things to buy organic whenever
Yes,
possible.
correct.
And if you can't buy organic, they have like things like vegetable wash that you can put in, and that really helps to get some of those things out. It's still not 100%, but it's better than just like rinsing it underwater. You really want to let them soak, get all that out, and you'll be amazed when you see that water
Yeah.
after those things soak. You'll be like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. So like even with organic, rinse them, or give them a good wash and all that good
You
stuff.
could put a little vinegar in too. Don't just soak it too long because it'll absorb the vinegar, but a vinegar will pull off the pesticides. But for sweeteners, I would recommend using monk fruit sweetener. That's
Monk
probably the
fruit. I've never
healthiest.
tried that. I'll
Monk
have
fruit
to
sweetener. You can
check
Google
that
it.
out.
Yeah, you can buy
I
it.
will Google it. And then just a reminder, on the first and third Mondays of every month, Dr. K and I do the energy clinic. And it's like just a 15-minute session. It's $30. And we offer them virtually or in person. So regardless of where you might be watching from, we had somebody from like Missouri last week. Not, yeah, was it last week? Whenever the last one was. So that was pretty cool. So we're starting to get these people from, not local, but you can also come into the office now that the winter is breaking. We're
That's
going to be
good.
better off. We had a
Yeah.
lot of people we can't make it, it's snowing, and so now that that's breaking, it should be a lot easier. But we have it a private room, and so you have privacy. Or if you're doing a distance one, we do it via Zoom. And I did a video on that, kind of showing how we do that process by long distance. I'll post it afterwards. But anything else?
Yeah, I will comment. I have had people that I've just done the energy healings on. We've done a couple of sessions of just solid 1 hour sessions, and they lost weight just after that, because the amount of we have that we hang on, the tension in our life, just releasing that and the congestion around our field alone has gotten them to release and lose weight. So that by itself works. It's really amazing when that happens.
And I found the link already, so I'm posting it. It's clearing the energy field. It's on my YouTube, and I just kind of do one. I go through two processes, which I didn't plan to do. So like you can kind of get a little clearing just from watching the video. But I explain a little bit about when it's a distance setup, like how we do it a little bit with a little shamanic ceremony to kind of pull your astral self in, and then using my mesa as a proxy. So there's a little video that goes into the details about that if you're interested, or even if not, the clearing work alone, the two exercises are gold, and that will help you out even if you can't make it to the clinic. So check it out. Cool.
I think that
Well, that's
wraps
wraps
it
it up.
up right on the
Perfect.
money.
Yeah. So check out, if you go to emergenceofbeing.com under live streams, it has all the content from all the shows, Dr. K and me, my Coffee Connect, Casey's stuff on Shaman's Way, all of it's in one convenient place. So if you want to check out more content, it's there. Links to all the places on, you can download the stuff on iTunes, and all that good stuff is also on the website, or about to be. I think it's on the main page, but I'm going to add it for each show. And I guess that's it. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, share, help be a contributor to the contagion of consciousness, and get the word out there about how people can get healthy.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and we will catch you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.